Buongiorno, mi chiamo David e stasera sono qui con Rob, Jamie, Alistair e il nostro ospite speciale, Mick. Benvenuto al podcasting e prassi, because we all need to speak Italian now because we lost the culture war to them.
Yeah, we're all going to be eating those fish and chip pizzas by the end of the week.
Buongiorno tutti mondi.
How are we doing, Trips?
Hot.
Yeah, why not?
Yes, very hot. Did we enjoy the football, or did we not care?
Couldn't give a thunder and fuck, to be honest.
Yeah.
I got given a running commentary by the screaming of joy and the screaming that comes from the block of flats that I live in. So I had a pretty good idea of how things were going, and it was pretty bad from what I could tell.
Yeah, all I got was one cheer that I heard, and it was when Italy equalised. Oh, so that's nice to see.
Well, that's anti-English xenophobia.
I know, right? But then you can get arrested for not doing that here.
Love all the pricks who were like crying about that, like Scotland supporting Italy, and they were like, "Oh, this is disgraceful. I'm gonna cry. This would never have happened at public school." And then, you know what I mean? It was disgraceful for Scotland and Wales and all those other like oiks to be displaying their disgraceful anti-English like racism. And then after the match, when some actual racism happened, like fucking, you could hear a pin drop from those cunts. Do you know what I mean? It was like weird how that works.
I live with a Northern Irish woman, so I had to experience the anti-English sentiment in my house, and I'm fine with it. It was totally fine.
As you should. Yes.
I enjoyed it mainly just because they're just a bunch of good, nice lads, really. Yeah. And I had the constant sort of two split in my brain between I would have liked it for them because they're good boys, but I didn't want Boris Johnson to have the benefit of a football win. So in the end, it was probably a better result overall.
It's like Alien versus Predator, though, isn't it? Whoever wins, we all lose.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because even if we'd won that, there'd still have been like a huge wave of like racism and like violence sweeping the nation. Because it's just how Britain reacts to fucking everything.
Thousands of branches of Pizza Express would have gone up in flames.
Oh.
Yeah, it was just one of those fucking really weird moments where everything suddenly went full turbo racism, and then, like they've been keeping it quiet for so long, they've been doing really, really well to not just be out and out saying it, and then immediately it's just, would you like to see the N-word a lot? Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a recurring theme across like the entirety of Europe, not just Britain and England, but just outright racism towards footballers. Particularly emphasized whenever they perform poorly in a match or like lose a game or whatever the fuck. I can't remember what the guy's name was, but I saw there was one of the top German footballers got run out of the entire game because of the racism. And that's.
Karim Benzema in France said, like, if he scores, he's French, and if he's not, he's an Arab. Like all the Arab French players experience that, and look at Mesut Ozil. He's like, if he said he was German if he won, and he got treated like an immigrant if he didn't. I mean, the thing that's really getting me is the kind of FBPE contingent with their thing of like that somehow the Europeans are less racist, but also they
it's like, have you been to France, you fucking weirdo?
Yeah,
Jesus
or Germany where Turkish shops regularly get firebombed. But the thing that they're also doing now is suggesting, well, maybe the racists were actually bots controlled by the Russians, because that is they always have to go down that line. We can't just have racists. It has to be Putin. Putin controls all of our racists.
Yeah, it's just, you know what I mean? Like we missed that last penalty, and like a huge cheer goes up across Italy, and somewhere in Russia, Vladimir Putin pulls a big lever and like sends people which sounds an alarm, and a bunch of guys slide down a pole like in Ghostbusters and hack an estate agent's Twitter account.
like in the Cold War that they would have, sleeper agents in families. Now all of the sleeper agents are in branches of major estate agents ready to be activated at any time.
I mean, surely no British-born estate agent could ever be racist.
I fucking love that estate agent thing. Like, he went as far as to say, "Oh no, I've been hacked." So now the cops are looking into whether or not he's been hacked.
Yeah.
So he's getting done with wasting police time on top of everything.
It's like hackers broke into his account and made a number of racist tweets over a series of years. That's the long game. That's how they get you. That, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and he had a second account that was just racist tweets, and it was like,
Oh fucking hell! Oh, it's so good. He won't be posting again.
This is such a beautifully normal place to live.
Yeah.
Who was that fucking head case that was like complaining about the footballer that had like dared to @Priti Patel?
Oh, it was Andrew Lillico, the man who who in the past has done such thought experiments as, what if there is a murderer on a space station? And
that's like the premise of half of all science fiction movies.
What if
it's just Event Horizon?
Yeah, the other one that he did, which I really liked, was, what if a branch fell off a tree and you carved it into a horse that your wife liked, but then the king came along and took the horse away and said, "I own this now." And he went, that's how our entire legal and cultural system works.
If we're doing favourite Andrew Lillico bits, my personal favourite was the one where he said, "Would it be possible to marry an alien?"
he sounds like he has too much time on his hands.
His brain, but the thing is, he used to be the chief economist for Policy Exchange, so it explains everything.
I mean, if he's an economist, that does explain quite a lot, really, like, doesn't it?
It really does speak to someone who has never had it in their life where they've been told that they're wrong about anything.
Yeah,
like,
but there was also some senior BBC journo who was just like, I think it was Raheem Sterling, wasn't it, who said that, fuck off with your failed racism, Priti Patel, and he quote tweeted it and said something like, it's very difficult to move from football to politics, and you must be careful, or something like, fucking hell.
Yeah,
he deleted that. He deleted that and replied to like everyone bodying him on Twitter with a screenshot saying that like what he'd meant was like Priti Patel was getting herself in like dangerous water. So I think that was like maybe a genuine fucking like, just, I'm a journalist, why should I be good at communication, rather than like, you know what I mean, I'm a journalist, why should people hold the government to account?
Oh well, farewell to that racist estate agent's posting, and farewell also to Willie Rennie.
Yeah.
Oh, Willie Rennie, it's too soon.
I know.
The candle that burns twice as bright.
I'm sick of hearing about the cunt, to be honest. So glad to see
You're
the back
just
of him.
jealous that someone else is living their absolute best life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. He's getting attention, and frankly, do you know what I mean? That attention is mine. By right, you know what I mean? That's what that is.
Where's my giant deck chair?
Do you know how long it's been since I went down a slide? It's just not fair, like, you know what I mean?
I mean, David, you...
My chief political objections with Willie Rennie are mainly slide related.
Yeah. Slide have hot rod flames on it, man. That's some cool shit.
I mean, you might stand a chance, Dave. I mean, David, do you reckon Jamie could become the MSP for the islands, or?
I don't know. I mean, how happy are you with the concept of black magic and human sacrifice?
Largely ambivalent. Yeah. As long as people aren't doing it loudly outside my house, I don't care.
Oh.
There's a very quiet Wicker Man.
Just banging on the side of the Wicker Man with this. Keep it down in there.
Oh yeah, Willie Rennie is standing down as the leader of the Scottish Lib Dems after 11 elections and or referendums, which is like quite a
11?
CV. Yeah, 11. Yeah, which I'm assuming he's including all local, European, everything else.
He's been leader in Scotland for like 3 years or something. At the speed with which people fucking do referenda.
Yeah, I was going to say, I felt like I'd only known he's existed for about 11 weeks.
I mean, that's largely not so much in part to the time that he's been leader, but the fact that he's the leader of the Scottish Lib Dems.
Yeah, it's definitely a job no one gives a fuck about, not even the Scottish Lib Dems.
Yeah. Well, let's just wait and see what happens. There's about 3 other people that could possibly replace him, none of which I know the names of. So we'll need to see what happens there.
Do we care? It's the Scottish Lib Dems. Do you know what I mean? How many other? There's like 4 of them, aren't there?
Yeah.
They're not even a real party. I remember that from the Scott Paul episode. They're not a real party. Let's stop talking about them. Yeah, fuck it. Move on.
No, because the path is now open potentially, depending on them putting it off.
It's not news.
Joe Swinson.
Yeah.
What if I teased the return of Joe Swinson to you? Would you be interested then?
Nah.
I know what Jamie's going to say already.
Yeah. We'll see. A lot of things
by
have
the
to
way,
happen for
coming
that,
back
but it'd be
to
hilarious if she did.
She, by the way, coming back to the football for a second, had an amazing thing where it's like,
mate.
what if the game is tied? We should just give extra goals to the people who had the ball the longest.
I just pulled up the actual tweet because I knew this was going to come up. Suggested alternative to penalties for deciding a tied match. Average score per minute played, fewest bookings. Those are solutions.
Average score per minute played in a game where both teams were on the pitch the full duration and by necessity scored the same amount of goals.
I had 2 further suggestions. 3, skills wallets. 4, swin zone. No need to explain how they'd work. They're Lib Dem policies.
5, whoever I think would be the most polite to me.
I think I suggested they should decide it by whoever can smell toast burning the strongest.
Oh, fucking hell, man. That was easily the most Swinson thing that Swinson has ever said, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an entire fucking genre of politicians talking about football when they clearly know nothing about it. And I say that as someone who knows literally nothing about football. And it's incredible. It's like, you don't know shit. Shut the fuck up. It's not hard. And then, no, I must say something about the football because everyone's talking about the football. So I'm going to come out with some of the most insane, puerile shit in order to break a tie in a match. Okay, let's just do that. I just love that when British politicians talk about football, they sound like Americans. Do you know what I mean? Like, well, the soccer ball was delightful. Maybe they should have played like a fucking, like, you know what I mean? An extra pickup at like both ends. And you're just like, what?
Oh. Right, okay. Let's try and leave the football there. Rob, you have something to say about burgers?
Yeah, well, Jamie had something to say about burgers.
But only you can pronounce it.
Yeah.
I do like how this is listed in the notes as burger time.
Jamie only put this in the channel like 5 minutes before we started recording. So there's a new world's most expensive burger, by which you mean it's going to be fucking shite. It's created
Is it covered in gold leaf?
It is absolutely covered in gold leaf.
It's just gold leaf layered on gold leaf layered on gold. They've said essentially it's a gold bullion.
No, I have a full ingredient list for us to enjoy in but a moment.
Is the full ingredient list a burger and some gold leaf?
Almost.
Like the guy, someone comes in, gives him like a sack full of euros, and he just goes down to McDonald's and gets something off the saver menu and just dips it in a fucking like vat of molten gold.
I honestly think that might be tastier and better for you. Anyway, this is a creation of the Daltons Diner in Voorthuizen by a guy by chef Robert Jan de Veen. I had a look, by the way. This is Dutch. Fuck it. What can I do about it?
I'm just like, I'm sorry, he's Dutch. No, you can't trust a nation of people that grew up on Pernod de Pernod.
No, you cannot. Yeah. No, you cannot. I mean,
is it so expensive because like the chef delivers it in blackface?
No, actually, you get £5 off if he does that. No, I'll put a picture of the fucking burger up in the chat for once.
Oh yes, I love when we do these visual cues for the podcast.
Yeah, and then never we'll put this in the Twitter reply. We fucking won't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
it'll be on me to upload the YouTube video without it, and then get yelled at by strangers on the internet.
And the cycle is complete.
Anyway, I do have it costs €5,000, and you can get.
It looks like a tumor.
Yeah, it's fucking.
Could they
gross.
not have afforded more pixels?
So it's a burger bun made with the burger bun is made with Dom Perignon champagne.
Oh,
Why?
Because you need to make a very expensive burger. There's literally no reason to make bread with champagne. It doesn't fucking do anything.
The chef poured caviar onto the floor near this burger while it was being made. That's why it's so expensive.
It's got mayonnaise made with smoked duck eggs, which is also
fuck off.
What was that film? What was that film from the 90s where Nick Cage has to investigate the snuff film and he ends up like tracking down and killing it because the rich guy dies and his wife finds the snuff film? Like, do you know what I mean? Is this what rich people do now that the surveillance state is too severe for them to get away with that sort of shit?
I mean, to be fair, Jamie, the surveillance state is not severe enough for them to not get away with it.
Yeah, it's true. Like one surveillance state for us and one surveillance state for them.
So of course it's got white truffle on it because everything that's pointless and expensive has white truffle on it when it comes to food. It's got pickled tiger tomatoes and
I hate to bring up Nicolas Cage again like so soon. But has anyone seen the trailer for that new film that's coming out for Nicolas Cage where it's John Wick but someone stole his truffle pig?
Yes, and I 100% am going to see it.
Yes,
in the
that looks
cinema
fucking,
on
it
day
looks
one.
fucking amazing. Like, yeah.
Welcome to the Nick Cage Appreciation Podcast.
Anyway,
you always get a performance with Nick Cage. Like,
You do.
you know what I mean?
He's
Not
got bills
a good
to pay,
one
man.
necessarily, but he does perform.
and he has many bills to pay. Yeah.
Yeah, like getting a fucking marble floor put in the like huge rented house that he was living in for some fucking reason. That was a fun period in his career.
Didn't he buy a castle?
Yeah, he did.
And then
think
was
he
like,
bought
holy shit,
multiple
it's really
castles.
expensive to own a castle because you've got to pay like fucking upkeep every turn and like fucking hire footmen to patrol the walls or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah,
You know
no,
what I mean?
Rob,
It's
over
like-
to you on this one.
Yeah, well, they are fucking expensive. I mean, unless they're undead like mine, then it becomes a lot cheaper. Otherwise, so the burger is made with Wagyu beef, that Japanese hyper-expensive beef,
Oh, fuck off.
which is
What
incredibly
beef? Sorry,
pointless.
because I thought you said barbecue beef.
No, Wagyu.
which is like a crisp flavour.
No, there's also there's a barbecue sauce on it made with Macallan 18-year-old whiskey and
fuck
Kopi
off.
Luwak coffee, which is really fuck off because Kopi Luwak, that's that coffee if you've ever heard of it.
The
cat
shit
shit
bean
coffee.
coffee.
Yeah, it's the cat shit coffee.
Yes.
I've got to say, it feels like a massive waste of some Wagyu beef just because it's expensive.
Well, it's incredibly pointless because, like, if you grind Wagyu, which is what you would have to do to make a burger out of it,
It
like
ruins
you essentially
it.
Yeah.
you completely destroy it. You lose what is actually special about it.
Damn,
There's nothing special. There's nothing special about it, mate. It's food. You eat it. It comes out your arse in a few hours. Do you know what I mean? It's like.
I mean, I think you and I, but
This podcast is going to like make me anti-food because you're always on it. Like, oh, what kind of plating style is the burger on? Well, we're talking about made-up shit. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's one of those slate plates, which I fucking hate as a plating style.
yeah, okay, like it's not like I found this on the roof. Does anyone want to bite?
yeah, it dropped out of a fucking cargo plane.
Yeah,
I think the price to like taste ratio on a burger, like after about 10 quid, right? The amount that a burger can be better as the money goes up declines so steeply.
Yeah,
Massive
yeah,
diminishing
absolutely.
returns on that.
Like, obviously, there are some burgers, like, if you buy a burger for, like, a quid, right, it can only be so good. So, obviously, there's some space for it to get better as you improve the quality of it. But, like, I don't know, I reckon Five Guys probably maxed out the level of a burger. Like, it's sort of like, you know, posh people with wine. A above a certain level, I can't taste the difference. It could be fucking Ribena to me. And I think that's the same thing with burgers. Beyond a certain point, my taste buds don't have the resolution to appreciate it.
See, what you need to do is you need to lower the resolution of your taste buds. So you have 10 cans, right? Then you have a Rustler's burger. Perfect.
And you're like, this is a taste sensation.
No.
Just cook
I
it
can't
and then
agree
use
though. Like I
Ajax.
used to have a side job in university doing like whiskey tastings for corporations and
For
stuff.
fuck's sake, Rob. Do you know what? There's only two people I could believe that. Two people's mouths I could believe that coming out of it. Yours and Riley's.
Yeah.
But I mean, the exact same thing is true because like some of the like if it was really high end, they would get like 5 or 6 bottles of like 500 quid and up, and like they're just not that much better than like the 40, 50, 60 quid range. Like it's just it's definitely it curves downward, the increasing quality.
The fuck are they putting in? But the fuck are they putting in whiskey that it costs 500 quid a bottle? Is it like unicorn piss or something?
It's essentially
There's a
a function
reason
of
that's the
rarity.
national animal.
But I mean, I was a tech. I had to stop being a tech journalist because at a certain point, like particularly when I like was a tech journalist, you looked at gadgets a lot. Because I just got more and more cynical. As they were like, well, these speakers are much much better, or this TV is the resolution is so much better. And I just go, yeah, but my eyes are still as shit as they've always been. Like I don't enjoy this anymore. But you're like, oh yeah, this is £20,000 this TV, and it's like, okay, well this is just a Veblen good. It just exists to show that you have enough money to buy it. It doesn't have an intrinsic increased value.
That sounds like my absolute nightmare job, to be honest. Like, you know what
it's
I mean?
fucking awful. It's like them.
Having to look at gadgets for a living.
People coming in and saying, oh, these we've gold plated these. Speaker cables to make it, and you're like, it's just bullshit. It doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
We all know it doesn't make any difference. Just say some people like to have gold in their house because they've got Trumpism and their brains are diseased.
Gold-plated HDMI connectors, where it's like that's a digital signal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but it's like, no,
nothing.
it's better. It's better through gold. Like it's like okay.
Yeah,
right,
I used to know a guy at uni who was like considered himself an audiophile, and he said to my housemate that he'd set up his like sound system for a party we were going to have, and he comes over, he does his thing, and the speakers just aren't working right, and for some reason we have to fix it by sticking a cigarette filter into like the volume dial in order for the sound to actually work. We found out the next day he'd fucking put the cables on the wrong way around, so I'm highly dubious.
I've got more respect for child murderers than I do for audiophiles, to be honest.
The hierarchy of files.
Can I tell you one more even more irritating thing about this burger, and then we'll move on. It's not to do with ingredients. So the burger cost €5,000, but they sold one. But the good thing is, the €5,000 that it was bought for was immediately donated to food banks. So, instead of just not wasting food and, getting coffee from cats that are frequently tortured in small cages, we need to have someone eat a €5,000 fucking burger instead of just giving the fucking money just to people who need it.
Yeah, I've got this crazy idea. How about we
eat the rich?
Yes.
Yes, we skip the expensive burger step and go straight to eating the rich. But in between the skipping and the eating, we could tax them a little bit. Is my idea. I mean, I know it's crazy.
Yeah. And also, if you happen to see a billionaire in the street, you're morally obligated to kick fuck out of them and take their wallet.
That's true. Also, all billionaires are morally obligated to become 500 quid members of our Patreon.
Yes, also true. Right, Rob, we've got one more.
Speaking of billionaires, shall we investigate the wonderful world of capitalism for a moment?
Are we going to talk about space nonce?
No, we're not going to talk about
here.
space nonce. If you would, do you want to talk a little bit about space nonce on the Final Frontier?
Well, he's a nonce and he went into space. So I think that about covers it. Like,
moving on.
Yeah. And space travel, we will maintain, is stupid and does not work, and people should stop doing it. It is dumb. Anyway, the certified collectibles group. Anybody know what that is?
I fucking hate this already. I have no idea what it is or what it's going to be about, but certified collectible... What? Certified collectibles group? That just...
Yeah.
I know what this is, like, and I blame Logan Paul.
There's a few people we can blame, but Logan Paul is indeed among them.
I don't know who that is.
Don't worry, Jamie.
Yeah,
don't
keep it that way.
We'll explain it to you when you're younger.
This is essentially a company where people send their collectible trading cards to, so like Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, or however you pronounce that. And then they grade...
All right, Grandad.
And then they grade the cards so you have like an official grade, so you can sell it easier on eBay and on, I don't know, websites where people trade fucking Pokemon cards to each other. Grown-ass adults do that.
Pokemon Information Exchange.
And of course, because everybody, because there were too many people with too much time and too much money on their hands during lockdown, the trading and the prices for these things have gone through the fucking roof since Rona, because everybody sat at home. So
did you see that thing where they had to stop auctions in, I think it was China? Like some drug dealer or something, like all his stuff was being auctioned after he'd been convicted. And he had like a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh cards or some shit. And they had to stop the online auctions because they were going for like 5 million quid, like $5 million a piece or whatever. And it was just like, and people were like, these aren't even like particularly rare cards. Do you know what I mean? Like, but they just figured like someone was up to no good, so they just had to shut down. Because like it's like, oh, here we've got like one of his socks, and everyone was like, oh, $10 billion.
Yeah, I mean that's just clearly
left everyone
like
scratching their heads as to what the fucking racket there is.
Yeah, that's just art auctions as a scam to transfer money and wash it from one person to another. But apparently the most expensive Pokemon card currently in existence is a Charizard with a blue card back, which was given out as a promo...
Can you read that name back to me again, Rob?
A Charizard. I don't fucking know. You pronounce it, you fucking 5-year-old.
I'll leave it up to the listener's imagination how I'm going to pronounce that.
Get his ass, Rob.
Anyway, so this particular card with a different card back, blue instead of red, was given out
as we established, was a Charizard.
It was a chorizo sausage. Fuck you. So it was a chorizo, and it was given out with a packet of apple-flavored chewing gum, but because the color of the back is different, it sold for $493,230 a couple of months ago. Obviously, the sign of a well-functioning economy.
I think there's a box of Pokemon cards from when the Ben was young upstairs. So I'm going to get one of those and put it on eBay for £2 billion, and then it's the most expensive Pokemon card in existence.
You might honestly, but the problem is first you'd have to send your box to the Certified Collectibles group for verification of its quality and grade.
Nah, I'm starting the more Certified Collectibles group. I'll just do it myself.
The most expensive one is owned by Logan Paul, and he walked into his fight with Floyd Mayweather with it round his neck because he is one of the worst human beings alive. And what was great was he was fighting the arguably, his equal in being one of the worst humans alive. So it was, at least sort of consistent.
Well, Logan Paul also has an investment fund, which is amazing.
That is not a combination of words I wanted to hear today.
The premise, I swear to God, the premise of Logan Paul's investment fund is, I will give you the heads up beforehand, and then I will tell my legions of insane, stupid fans that they have to invest in, I don't know, the company that makes Super Soakers, and then we'll have bought in beforehand, so we can write the shit. Is
this like that? Is this like that kickboxing chess twat from Twitter? The fucking.
It's along those lines. This is the same
I can't
kid
remember his name, but the guy that's been banned from Twitter a bunch of times, and he used to be like a pro chess player and a kickboxer or something, and now he just spends his days like being a misogynist online.
Andrew something.
Andrew something, yeah.
No.
Andrew Cobra, Andrew Cobra
Andrew
knows,
Cobra
Kai.
The Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai. Yes.
Tate. Andrew Cobra Tate.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the cunt. Yeah, he runs some sort of like weird thing where you pay him a bunch of money and then he tells you how to make money. And
It
it's
says
like,
nothing good about us that this man's name's in our heads.
well,
Also,
it took some finding. Do you know what I mean?
Also,
So-
I am 3 years older than Andrew Cobra Tate, and he honestly looks like a tramp has been sleeping in his face.
And I've got to be honest, you don't have quite as half a pretentious name as he does.
Didn't he turn? I think the Cobra bit might be just made up. You know what I mean? But didn't he turn up at that? Who's that like left grifter guy that does all the shit about anti-fascists and history?
Vorsh or whatever. Is that him?
No. Stuckbury.
Who?
Mike Stuckbury?
Oh, I don't know. There's
Oh,
so many of these
Stuckbury,
cunts.
yes,
Didn't
Stuckbury.
Cobra Tate turn up at his house once trying to fight him?
Yeah.
Because they'd fallen out, they had like a row on Twitter, and he like turned up in a car that I presume, like a sports car that I presume he'd just like taken for a test drive from somewhere. You know what I mean?
My side story on the Mike Stuckbury thing is, I was commissioned by GQ to report on the fucking idiotic Tommy Robinson Day of Freedom thing. So I was there reporting on that, and Stuckbury was so overawed by the fact that the famous fascists were talking to him that he was like, "Oh, I can persuade them round," and went in their little private backstage area and everything. And I just saw him doing that and thought, "Yeah, you would have been a Nazi in the 30s because you'd have liked the uniforms."
Yeah, this episode's entirely about Twitter beefs now. Let's just air them all out. I'm here for that.
We'll do one more. Do we want to talk about Priti Patel's new reasonable force handed to the border force so people with migrant boats can be stopped, diverted, or boarded? Because, you know, we're such a cool, relaxed country.
Yeah, we can talk about that. I felt like I was in too good a mood.
Yeah, that's what this podcast is for. Anyway, this
is the main event tonight not depressing enough?
Yes.
Yeah, so the Nationality and Borders Bill will make it easier for the Home Office, as if it was very hard now, to deport people and reject asylum seekers who come by boat easier than, I think, other categories. I don't know how that's going to be done, but that's the thing. And to make sure that,
and relentlessly is my guess.
Yeah. And to make sure, because, you know, this is another one of these fucking Daily Mail talking points that some people can't shut up about, that people who come here and claim that they are under the age of 18 are actually under the age of 18. The Home Office and Border Force
are we gonna start measuring people's foreheads?
Yep,
and, like,
we're going to use X-ray and dental
and
records.
They're going to cut one of their fingers off and count the rings inside it.
And what's more, they're going to make it a legal for you to arrest, basically to save someone who's drowning unless you've checked their immigration status first.
Yeah.
That's great. We love to see that.
Yeah.
And they gave some kind of wet guarantee to like the lifeboat and the Coast Guard that they wouldn't be subject to this law, but that's not written in the law. That's just a statement.
I'd love to be reassured by just being told, yeah, you'll be fine. Like, no, like, citation of what provisions have been given within the law itself. Just, trust us, you're fine.
I have to say, the difficulty curve on this Papers, Please DLC is really fucking high.
I hate this fucking country. What sort of jobs can get you into an Antarctic research base? Because I quite fancy the sound of that, to be honest. Like,
could an Antarctic research base contain you, Jamie? I feel like you'd go out into the like minus 50-degree weather just to prove a point.
Just to make friends with the thing.
Also, quite a lot of murders on Antarctic research stations. So between that and the Event Horizon,
I'll take my fucking chances.
And one of the other things that's in the Nationality and Borders Bill is the idea, once again, we talked about it before, to have immigrants processed offshore. So we're back to Ascension Island or an abandoned oil derrick or Sealand or something where we're going to house migrants.
Yeah, no, they're really intent on Ascension Island, which is like so fucking far away. It's halfway to the Falklands, basically.
Yeah, it's fucking
what's
gross.
going on? What's going on with Sealand these days?
I think the
Haven't
prince
heard
is
anything
back.
about that. Haven't heard anything about that libertarian paradise in a while.
The last I remember was that the Prince of Sealand fought off an attack by a group of mercenaries who was sent there by some kind of billionaire who wants to collect semi-private islands, and then Pirate Bay was going to use it to house all their servers there.
Oh, well, that would have been a good use of it.
Yeah, I mean, that ended up
Couldn't let that
unfortunately not
happen now, could
happening,
we? I do love that about Pirate Bay. It's like they bounce like the relay for the website off of a bunch of drones, from a server out in the desert somewhere, in order to keep the website going. And then you get all these fucking far right websites that get taken down because, Cloudflare says, "Nah, we've had enough of it, mate."
Like, apparently, the current Prince of Sealand is a guy called Michael Bates. But he currently lives in Westcliff-on-Sea in Essex because he wants his kids to attend English schools. Amazing.
That's fucking incredible, man.
Fucking hell. That's so good.
Oh, well, there you go. There's a job I can apply for. Education Minister for the nation of Sealand.
or if you want like a really abstruse job, you can become its passport processor, because apparently they receive hundreds of passport applications every single day.
Jesus.
Oh, see, that doesn't sound like a very good idea with Priti Patel as the Home Secretary, because if she strips you of your British nationality, like, you're fucked, you're going to Sealand.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of Nicolas Cage movies, then, you're also trapped on an oil derrick. That's entirely appropriate for the theme of this episode.
With the giant shoes.
Yeah. Oh man, Face Off was such a good movie.
My favorite part of like Face Off is the fucking future prison with the giant shoes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Shoes.
Like you have to, they make you wear them because both legs are shorter than the other.
Oh, fucking hell. Right, Rob, shall we move on to the main topic?
Yeah, we shall move on to the main topic. And also why we have Mick on. I thought today we should talk about the Morgan report, or the independent panel into the death of Daniel Morgan. Daniel Morgan died on the 10th of March 1987 under very suspicious circumstances we'll get into in but a moment. And after a series of what I can only call grossly, incompetently and or corruptly bungled investigations, his killer or killers have still never been found or convicted. And the Morgan report, which has just come out, is just over 1,250 pages long, and it mentions the word corruption 718 times, mainly in relation to the Metropolitan Police of the United Kingdom.
I'm sure the word "not" also appeared at least 718 times.
Slightly less so than you'd think. The findings of the panel amount to a history and indeed current institutional corruption, said one of the panel members during the launch of the report. This institutional corruption is not used in a historic sense, it is used in a current sense. So it is a very extensive report that talks about corruption inside the Metropolitan Police, and then specifically in relation to its links to the British tabloid press, which of course is one of the many reasons why we have Mick back on the show. This is not just about the Met. The report also mentions by name the Hampshire Constabulary and the Police Complaints Authority as being either institutionally corrupt or incompetent. So it's nice to know that the Police Complaints Authority is also not reliable.
Is the Police Complaints Authority just a mob of Twitter accounts that just jam into your fucking mentions the minute you say ACAB?
So the report was ordered in 2013 by Theresa May, of all people, because she was probably the last Home Secretary who hated the police and they hated her. And despite some of those things we're to discuss, the panel actually had no legal power to compel people to give testimony. So all 74 of these interviews and all the documents were given voluntarily. So
I
what
mean,
we have...
I was going to say, that really is a bunch of people who are very fucking pissed off, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, what it also probably means is that if people were there voluntarily, they may have told some of the truth, but not the whole truth. So there's a good chance that despite what this report already says, there's a large chunk of more corruption that is simply not being uncovered because there was no legal means to press people into giving evidence.
Yeah, it means things like there's a huge suspicion that huge tranches of documents held by News UK, which would have been News International at the time, for instance, are suspected to have not been made available because they were not, compelled to do so.
Yeah, I mean, so even despite everything being voluntary and more than 20 years after the fact, according to the report, some witnesses approached by the panel declined to cooperate for a variety of reasons, including fear of reprisal, even more than 30 years after the murder. So just to give you an indication of the seriousness of this matter. The formal purpose of the panel was to shine a light on the circumstances of Daniel Morgan's murder, the background and handling of the case since 1987, including questions about possible police involvement in the murder, the role played by police corruption in preventing those responsible from being brought to justice, and the failure to confront said corruption, and the incidence of connections between private investigators, police officers and journalists at the News of the World and other media, and alleged corruption involved in these links.
Cool.
I mean, it says, we've got this idea, I say we, there are people in this country that have this idea that because our police force isn't as outright, blatantly murderous as the US is, we're somehow better. But, talking about reprisals, I mean, that's something that got seen all over the US, like particularly last year after the Black Lives Matter protests. And it does not surprise me in the slightest that the Met is capable of meting out the exact same kind of revenge that massively overfunded American cops are capable of meting out.
I mean, for sure they're capable or not. Whether or not they actually have or did, this podcast cannot and certainly will not speak to or speculate about.
Well, I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me.
Very briefly, just a quick overview of the actual case, and then we'll go into everything that happened before and after. This is from the Financial Times on June 23 by Robert Shrimsley. The case dates back to March 10, 1987, when Daniel Morgan, a private investigator for Southern Investigations, was found dead in a pub car park with an axe embedded in his head. From the outset, the investigation was a shambles. Forensic evidence was not secured, information was lost and leaked. The report notes that a police officer who led a key search of Morgan's office was a then business associate and later actual colleague of the dead man's business partner, the man who soon became the chief suspect. This police officer is Detective Sergeant Sid Fillery. The dead man's business partner is Jeremy Reese,
Jonathan Reese,
about whom much more later. The case threw a light on police officers selling information to security firms and the media, and abuses kept quiet by a blue wall of silence. If you read the report, and Mick, I know you've read the whole thing. I've just skimmed big chunks.
Yes, I read the whole thing on the day it was released, like a maniac.
There was and still is significant evidence that at least suggests that Morgan's partner at Southern Investigations, Jonathan Reese, was working at the time with corrupt Met officers to either do the murder or at least have his corrupt friends close up any following investigation. Again, this is merely a suggestion, not a statement of fact.
The suggested motive was that Daniel Morgan was going to blow the whistle on the press, corrupt police, private investigator triad, basically.
Again, I'm just going to read a line from the Morgan Independent panel on From the beginning, there were allegations that police officers were involved in the murder and that corruption by police officers played a part in protecting the murderers, from being brought to justice. Southern Investigations, probably at the time, but we can't 100% say, had a deep involvement with News International. At least 2 years after the murder, the bookkeeper for Southern Investigation estimated that over 50% of the income of Southern Investigations came from News International investigating stories and supplying stories to News International. So we can't know that for sure, but if we can reasonably suppose that they didn't start earning 50% of their money in 1 year from News International, but this was a previously developing relationship that may have been in place in 1987. As I said, the investigating officer, Sergeant Sid Fillery, joined Southern Investigation only a very short while after the murder, so after he'd briefly been in charge of investigating the murder. And both Jonathan Rees and Fillery also kept hanging out and having pint with serving cops even after they were arrested for murder. They were later arrested. So even while they were literally arrested for murder, the cops just kept hanging out and having pints with them.
Oh, well, it's nice to see that. It's not really changed in the Met culture.
And when you're talking about the relationship of Jonathan Rees to the tabloid papers at the time that Daniel Morgan was murdered, we don't know. It's not copper bottom proof about how much they were earning from tabloids at that point. But at a later point, when he was on trial in March 2011, it was proven that he was earning £150,000 a year from the News of the World to supply illegally obtained information to the newspaper. So that's a fact on the record in the court record.
Yeah. That was because they met during one of the many investigations. They placed a bug in his office where this was later on confirmed. In February 2000, the Met analyzed the data and they confirmed that there were at least 273 instances where journalists were provided with police information by Law and Commercial, which was the rebrand of Southern Investigation. So this is after the murder of Daniel Morgan, but certainly allegedly these things happened before then as well.
I mean, this is pretty indicative of like the course that News of the World would take towards the end of the 2010s, right?
Yeah.
It's imagine if something had actually been done like years before the phone hacking scandal had caused a newspaper to be shut down, which is like the largest ramification as far as I'm aware that's ever happened to a newspaper in modern history.
Which was 10 years ago this year, just this past month.
Yeah, happy anniversary, everyone.
Yeah. And just to paint another bit of the sketch, of the 19 former police officers often associated with Jonathan Rees, socially or otherwise, his firm and former Sergeant Fillery, 10 of those officers have either before then or since been convicted of criminal offences and sent to prison. These offences include drug offences, perverting the course of justice, accepting bribes, obtaining property by deception, theft of files, more bribery. This was all according to the BBC.
You've been prosecuted for accepting bribes and also more bribes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's various legal ways in which the word bribe, essentially appears. And according to Nick Davies, who of course broke a lot of the News of the World phone hacking scandal, he also did a lot of work on this case at the time. Just to give you an idea of the length and breadth of the sources used by Southern Investigations and Jonathan Reed and paid for, certainly, these included the Southeast Regional Crime Squad, the Royal Protection Squad, officers in the Customs and Excise Office, VAT inspectors, bank employees, blaggers, other private investigators, an employee in the Passport Office, and other private investigators who moonlighted as burglars, allegedly. So this is a very comfy world where essentially the most important thing is you have to see there's the Met and other police forces, and then there's News International and the other tabloids, but News International specifically, and Southern Investigations essentially acted as like a clearinghouse to sit between the two organizations. Mick, I don't know if that's about how I should see it.
Yeah, that's a fair way of putting it. And the other important thing to know about Jonathan Rees is while he was cleared, while he was acquitted at trial twice, maybe three times actually, for the murder of Daniel Morgan, he did go to jail in the year 2000, found guilty of planting cocaine on an innocent woman in order to discredit her in a custody battle. So that gives you a good sense of what sort of person Jonathan Rees is.
An absolute fucking wrong'un.
Yeah, an absolute wrong. You are legally safe to call him that.
And Jonathan Rees, by the way, is not the only one. His later business partner, Sid Fillery, a former sergeant in the Metropolitan Police, was arrested in August 2003 and charged with 15 counts of making indecent images of children and 1 count of possessing indecent images. He was later convicted for said crime.
It wouldn't be a British story if there wasn't some noncing in it.
Absolutely, Mick. 100% what I was going to say.
Oh, fucking hell.
I mean, there was one bit in Nick Davies' reporting which I just found amazing, that not all of Jonathan Rees' police contacts were apparently doing this voluntarily. I'll just read you a quick bit from Nick Davies. Other police contacts are said to have been blackmailed into providing confidential information. One of Rees' former associates claims that Rees had compromising photographs of serving officers, including one who was caught in a drunken coma with a couple of prostitutes and a toilet seat around his neck.
Is this not just like the job description of being a parliamentary whip? You could have had a really promising career doing things that were shunned but allowed.
Well, David, I can only speculate, but I can only speculate that this may have been a route through which whips would acquire such information.
What a novel idea that you've just come up with in that novel that you're going to write.
Mm-hmm.
However, after he's been released from prison in 2004, Jonathan Rees does just go straight back to work. He's then subcontracted by the News of the World and paid out of Andy Coulson's budget. And Andy Coulson, if you remember, later the communications director for David Cameron, who knew of his conviction and still happily hired him
It's our favourite boy. He's definitely not been involved in anything dodgy in his entire career, Davy Cameron.
Yeah, certainly
Andy
not
Coulson's
the man
name
who
I've
was paid.
not heard in a while.
Certainly not the man who was paid £40,000 a week by Lex Greensill and his fund.
I thought it was 29 grand a day.
No, it's 40k a day. He was paid $1 million a year.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there's another interesting sort of side point to because since we were talking about News of the World from 10 years ago and stuff. So Glenn Mulcair, who was the guy who was convicted, the first of the people, he was the first investigator to be convicted of phone hacking. Also a former non-league footballer, which just adds a bit of spice to the story. When he came out of prison, he was immediately hired by Lord John Stevens' security and intelligence company Quest, 3 years after his phone hacking conviction, and just when he came out of prison.
Wait, isn't that Lord John Stevens? Isn't that former Met Commissioner Lord John Stevens?
This is what I'm about to say to you. Former Met Commissioner Lord John Stevens, who immediately after he ceased being Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police became a News of the World columnist on a $7,000 an article basis.
Fucking
now,
hell.
I think
Is he the one that used to sell garage doors?
No, that's John Stryker.
John Stalker.
John Stalker, that's the one. Yeah, but Lord John Stevens and Quest is currently part of the legal action around one Barclay brother, owners of the Telegraph, bugging the other Barclay brother. The allegation is that Quest were the ones that did that bugging. Now, of course, they deny all the allegations. But isn't it? But when you're talking about police complicity, to see that that someone goes from being commissioner of the Metropolitan Police to a News of the World columnist, immediately barely gets the uniform off before he does that, is striking. And what's striking, I think, about it is, like we were talking about Cadwallader syndrome earlier, where there's these people who constantly talk about these hidden, conspiracies. What's interesting about it, they do this stuff so blatantly and obviously. It's not really even the conspiracy. Like the death of Daniel Morgan is not. You look at it and you go, it's not really a mystery. It's just that no one,
no one bothers to look. Yeah.
When you talk about incompetent police investigations, they are very much a feature of this story rather than a bug.
Well, it's not in the interest of power to have a case like this, truthfully and effectively resolved, is it?
Yeah, if there were cops who wanted to investigate it, they weren't going to get put on that case.
No, I mean, you do get the sense when you read the report that, like, it's very often it's like a coin flip as to whether or not certain actions were stupid or corrupt, but the outcome was exactly the same. So I'm not sure it matters entirely which it was.
Yeah, you're right. In the end, the material effect is exactly the same, so it's almost irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of something that we also see a lot of in other areas of the media. The question of whether it's incompetence or just stupidity. And it's great that we're seeing that reflected in the police as well. I mean, the fact that they're, a lot of allegations of them working hand in hand, the fact that those two elements would be mirrored in each other, I think is quite pleasing in a very upsetting way.
I don't know if we've, I might have missed it, but I don't know if we've said actually how Daniel Morgan was killed, because he was found with an axe in his head. Like, it's hardly the most subtle of killings off of someone, Like,
I mean, as someone who's watched like crime dramas, I believe they call that sending a message.
I was about to say it was very much sending a message. Like it was done to make a very clear point to anyone else who might have wanted to, turn state's evidence, as it were.
I mean, particularly if no one was ever, successfully prosecuted for the murder itself. Fucking hell.
No, I mean, so the initial investigation was incompetent to the question of was it corrupt or not. That the Morgan report does not clearly establish that the actions undertaken in the first investigation were corrupt, but they were certainly so inept that subsequently there were 4 new investigations and an inquest, each of which collapsed on their own grounds for various reasons. Again, some due to stupidity, some allegedly due to corruption. It's not clear. I'm not going to run you all through all of them. But just to
I do just want to say, I like that we don't have to put allegedly in front of being stupid.
During the third investigation, which was performed by DCS David Cook, the senior investigating officer, he and his wife were subjected to surveillance, and various attempts were made to gather information about them by people working for the News of the World. He had, after appearing on Crime Watch to ask for information and offering a reward regarding the death of Daniel Morgan, the day afterwards they got an anonymous tip that Southern Investigations and the News of the World were on the warpath. A week later, an untraceable call is made to David Cook's police station, where they tried to blag his tax affairs out of the police station and into their hands. And vehicles later confirmed to be leased to News International started surveilling his home and were following him around, and they were used by photographers of News International. This is in the Morgan Independent Panel report.
There's a brilliant part of this, though, which is the most, like, when Rebecca Brooks went into the Metropolitan Police and was asked, why are you doing this? She said it was because they thought that the Cooks were having an affair with each other. They were at the time been married for a decade plus.
Well, I mean, that might have been the thing that tipped them off.
Which Rebecca Brooks knew to be true, but she stood there and with a straight face said, well, we thought they were having an affair, so we thought it was in the public interest.
Well, I mean, there was a very weird meeting.
I think it would be a good thing for the world if someone
kissed,
put Murdoch and everyone that works for
him. Yeah, so there's also at this time, there's a really weird meeting where mysteriously nobody takes any notes. And I think this is with then Commissioner John Stevens, Cook, and the Met's Director of Public Affairs.
Everyone who went into the fucking meeting had to get like neuralized before and after they went in.
I mean, honestly, not taking notes is literally every meeting I've ever been involved in.
The Director of Public Affairs, Federico, who used to regularly go for nice lunches with Rebecca Brooks.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Although David Cook, the then investigating officer, for reasons that we can only speculate about, also had a weird habit. He brought home a huge amount of the police evidence because he wanted to write a book about the case and about what he thought happened or not.
Sorry, guys, I need to check all of this evidence out of the lockup because I want to write a book about it.
Yeah, no, that is essentially, he literally took home like piles of files, like boxes and boxes full, including stuff clearly marked confidential. And he also, he himself also...
Maybe he was building a fort?
But yeah, he later said he wanted to write a book about it, but in the meantime, he himself leaked significant portions of the boxes of evidence that he had to the press, which unfortunately led to a lot of that evidence being no longer useful in the still ongoing series of cases where they did try to figure out who did actually kill Daniel Morgan. So in 2009, there's at last a trial with 5 suspects, including Jonathan Rees, but pretty much everything that can go wrong does go wrong with the trial because of the poor handling of evidence and many other things. I'm quoting again from the report.
Whoopee cushions under all the seats, stink bomb goes off in the courtroom, the fan won't turn on and it's scalding hot.
Johnny Marbles comes in and hits someone in the face with a pie.
I'll read again from the panel report. The prosecution repeatedly found itself apologizing to the defense and the court for belatedly discovering documents within various police departments which seriously undermined the credibility of some of its witnesses. The mishandling of this material by the police led to the concession that full disclosure of evidence may never be completed. So even after 20 years and 4 inquests and inquiries, nobody ever managed to put all the evidence together, not least because some of it was sitting in David Cook's home, so he could write a book about it. So due to like this series of fuck-ups and a whole bunch of evidence who all get dismissed by the court for not being reliable, essentially, then Director of Public Prosecutions, a man called Keith Starmer, drops the trial because the accused can no longer be guaranteed a free trial. This happens in March 2011.
Just like he did multiple times with Jimmy Savile, huh?
I think this one he's maybe got a bit more actual scope to be like, yeah, that's kind of like fair enough because he's kind of like hands tied on this one. If there's been that many fuck ups, then you can't do the fair trial. But I kind of get that on this one.
Yeah,
whether or not any lessons were to be learned and implemented after this by Keir Starmer remains to be fucking seen. Who knows?
Well, I mean, if it's not the administration of fucking property rights, then why would anyone think the police would do anything about?
Keir Starmer exists so lessons are not learned. His entire existence is about not learning lessons.
Yeah, as a man whose expertise is forensics, which is the study of things which are still like, if evidence is moving all around the place, he's fucked. He's not going to be able to do anything about that.
I mean, obviously, this is not the first report about the Met being corrupt.
Certainly not going to be the fucking last.
And we will not be the last. In 1978, former Met Commissioner Robert Mark called the Criminal Investigation Division the most routinely corrupt organisation in London, which sounds good.
In London.
I
do like the implication that the organised crime in London is less corrupt.
Have you seen those cunts up in Glasgow?
There was, of course, the Hillsborough disaster and its outcome, where the Met and other police departments leaked and smeared victims. There was
lied on fucking statements and altered statements and so on and so forth, ad nauseum.
There was the McPherson.
Those fans pissed on the cops.
Yep,
you know what I mean. That was wasn't it? Which, like, if they had, good. But they didn't. Do you know what I mean?
The accusation that the scum made, the lie that the Sun published was that pushed by the South Yorkshire Police was that the fans had urinated on the dying and dead is the thing that they said, which is just the most grotesque thing.
Yeah.
Once
again, police words magically appearing almost verbatim in the tabloids and the scum and the Daily Mail in particular. There was, of course,
what a strange fucking coincidence. I mean, you look at this stuff and, like, you know, we're reading about this one specific example, and there's just anyone who cares enough to look, you know, to remember other things that are similar in nature, and you realise that there's just this long chain of the exact same events occurring in different police organisations up and down the country, in Scotland, elsewhere, and it boggles the mind that there are people who are still unable to come to any conclusion other than the cops are not there to help you. They are not a beneficial force in society as they are currently constituted and possibly ever will be constituted.
Well, the most important conclusion I think we should draw is that we shouldn't spend 200 million on a royal yacht, but instead of giving more budget to the police, a Keir Starmer, former director of public prosecutions.
The other thing that's worth saying about the Daniel Morgan independent panel report is what Cressida Dick, the current Met Commissioner, was censured in that report for repeatedly doing things that made the panel's life harder.
Oh, I have specific notes on this, yeah.
yeah, it's incredible. But let's remember, why is Cressida Dick the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police after being the commander in the case where the innocent Brazilian electrician Jean-Charles de Menezes, was killed by the Met Police, just shot down like
executed.
A dog. Yeah, executed, and with no justification whatsoever.
Well, and also just this year, the Sarah Everard vigil and the completely fucking unacceptable police brutality that followed that protest.
Yeah, my point is, though, how her career should have ended with that failed firearms operation. That
But that's like the pinnacle of, like, British policing, though, isn't it? If you, like, you know what I mean, you kill a man for not being white,
and for running away, and rightfully, clearly running away.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, isn't that all made up? They were like, he jumped the turnstile. And
that turned out not to be that turned out to be inaccurate in any number of ways.
That's such a polite way of putting that.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to put very large quote marks around that.
Yeah, intent was brought over. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Yeah.
I'll read a little bit from the panel findings. The Met's culture of obfuscation and lack of candor is unhealthy in any public service. Concealing or denying failings for the sake of its public image is dishonesty for reputational benefit.
This is a misunderstanding of the purpose of the police. They're not a service to the public; they're a service to capital.
Yes.
The Morgan family suffered grievously as a consequence of the failure to bring his murderers to justice. The unwarranted assurances they were given during several investigations, the misinformation put into the public domain, the denial of failures in the investigation, including the failure to acknowledge professional incompetence, individual venal behavior, managerial and organizational failures. Again, as we've been talking about here, these are not like one-off things in this particular investigation. They happen over and over and over again in every investigation into the Morgan murder and other investigations. And the Met's continued instinct is to place concerns for its own reputation and well-being above that of the public interest. The Met exists to serve the Met and then capital. It's,
okay. I'll concede that point.
Yeah.
And the thing that struck me in the report, and over 1,000 pages, is where they said, this is an institutionally corrupt organization, and we are using that phrase not in a historic sense, but in a current sense. It could not be clearer, and they're saying that even just on the basis of what evidence they could get without being able to compel them under criminal threat. If this panel had been given full evidential powers, imagine what they would have found. This is what they found of the stuff they could squeeze out of people.
Yeah.
Well,
on a voluntary basis.
Yeah, exactly. If there was that threat of, the law actually doing something to benefit the public, then they would have moved heaven and earth in God only knows what way in order to prevent this, that evidence. Yeah,
the shredders would have been, New Scotland Yard shredders would have been working night and day.
Yeah, well, I mean, the amount of people trapping themselves inside suitcases would have been so fucking high.
What's the deal with what's all this fucking paper that's coming out of there? Oh, they've just got loads of hamsters coming. By
the way, on the on a side point, since you brought up people being trapped in suitcases, did you see that there's a LGBT festival, sponsored by MI6 and GCHQ?
Oh, fuck I
thought that was a fucking bit at first. I was like, haha, very good. Oh, fuck. Sometimes as a person that is left wing on Twitter, you do read stuff and you have to think, you almost got me there, and then it's worse.
Nice one, Steph. Oh, hang on a fucking minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, Mickey was saying earlier about how the Met refused to cooperate with the panel. I'll just give you a couple of quick examples. They first refused for almost a year and a half to disclose any investigation documents. And then they also refused to have the panel have access to its national secure computer system called Holmes, which incredibly
Holmes, Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. The panel was first told that it would cost them £26,000 to get a secure laptop. The price of that secure laptop was raised to £65,000. Then the panel was told that its offices needed thicker walls and reinforced windows. And
what's this fucking laptop made of? Is it like that
burger
earlier?
Yeah, it's burgers.
Yeah.
That sounds like bullshit to me. That's all fucking bullshit.
It sounds like bullshit because it is bullshit.
Yeah.
Oh, we need a secure laptop, but we need a secure laptop in a fucking sealed undersea container with a 40-digit PIN number on the door and all this sort of shit, and then they just leave all the files on the train.
Well, that secure laptop, it's the police equivalent of that bit in Hitchhiker's Guide where they say to Arthur Dent, "Well, we've had the plans on display for a year," and then he finds out that they were at the bottom of some broken stairs behind a locked door, behind a sign that says "Beware of the alligator" in the bottom drawer of a filing cabinet in a flooded basement. And you go, we just have to find a secure computer. We can't tell you what one of those is, but we need one. We're going to have to tell you what it's not. Find it.
Well, I mean, one of the solutions they finally came up with, and Jamie, you're not far off with the thing under the sea. It took 2 years for only one staff member who was allowed to gain access to Holmes, a secure computer, and that staff member had to cross half of London from one office to another to do it at a separate location, despite at this point the Met having confirmed that the location of the panel was secure and they could have just had a laptop there. So it just made one staff member cross half of London every time he wanted to look up, or she wanted to look up some fucking files. Is ridiculous.
I mean, this again, coming back to the fact that this panel had no legal powers to compel anything. I think we talked about in the past, the barriers that get put up in order to, either prevent or delay or obfuscate, either pursuit of justice or society improving somewhat. And it's just things like that just seem to weirdly crop up in all these extremely inopportune places, whether it be having to cross fucking half of London in order to get onto a computer that's got access to the shit that a panel needs to get access to, or if it's weirdly Photoshop pictures of certain members of the opposition that keep turning up in this oddly favourable way to, institutional power, and you can't help but think that all these coincidences really are stacking up.
Mm.
Yeah,
I mean, what I find really weird about this is that, see the idea of a laptop. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this. They're designed to be moved around to different places at a moment's notice.
See, this is a secure laptop, David, because it's got a big chain attached to it.
Oh, I see. Right, okay, that makes sense.
It's one of those. It's one of those like military laptops with like Kevlar around it and everything. You know, it comes in like a fucking case that looks like a table. You just like swing it and kill a man, and it's like. But it's only got like 8 minutes of battery life, and it only runs Windows 3.1.
And even then, you can only play Minesweeper.
Yeah. There's not enough space for solitaire.
And I mean, the fuckery wasn't just like during the 8 years that it took to produce the report, despite that it was foreseen to be done in 1 year. If you remember, this was all this year. The initial date of publication was for May 17. But was then blocked by Priti Patel's office. First, because of the death of Prince Philip, which was, of course, a good reason.
All the laptops had to be set to like black screensavers in order to honour the dead.
It's because of Prince Philip's long-standing interest in unsolved murders.
There's a conspiracy theory for you. Like Murdoch had Prince Philip offed to delay this report.
Yeah. So first,
got shooters on every continent.
So first it was the death of Prince Philip. Then they said they needed to delay it further because they were worried about the report conflicting the European Convention on Human Rights, you know, that thing that we had to have Brexit over because we couldn't abide by it anymore, and national security issues. And it was finally released 2 months after its supposed publication.
That is, no, the national security is fair, because can you imagine what would have happened if Daesh found out that the Met was institutionally corrupt?
That's true. We had to get out of Afghanistan first, otherwise it would have all come collapsing down.
I have smashed my head up against claims of national security concerns so many times in my 15 years of trying to report things that the government doesn't want to hear, and it's always their go-to. And the brilliant thing about it as an excuse is it's impossible to disprove, because they say we can't. There's national security concerns, and you say, well, what are those concerns? They say, well, we can't tell you, of course, because that very information is national security concerns. So it's just cyclical, and it can take decades to prove that it was not true, and by that point nobody gives a fuck about whatever the thing that is revealed is. You know, it's why so many things come out, and you go like, you know, you look at the Bay of Tonkin or something, there's stuff where you find out later, oh, that we were told happened didn't happen. And people go, oh, that was a long time ago, so it's not really a conspiracy theory, that's just history. When you go, yeah, but that shit still happens now. They just have this assumption that, like, there's no conspiracies now. It's just, and anyone who says that there's conspiracy is just really, is covered in tinfoil, rather than saying, actually, you know, the point with conspiracies is this sort of just more workaday, mundane, day-to-day prosaic things, rather than like, you know, fucking faking the moon landing or whatever.
And I mean, to me, there's several really concerns about this. First off, of course, for the Morgan family, his mother died during all these failed investigations. They still don't know they have no justice for their murdered son, their murdered brother, their murdered father. We still don't know what happened. So I don't want to lose sight that there's a real human cost attached to this story as well. But in a broader context, if you're looking what's happening now, the Met wants to have powers to do facial recognition software. We have the anti-demonstration bill going through Parliament still. I mentioned it earlier, but the Sarah Everard vigil and what happened after. Once again, the corruption is institutional and current and not historic. And so much of it seems to depend, any regulation of the Met seems to depend on the whims and the attitude of the individual Home Secretary. The only reason we got this panel and this report is because Theresa May didn't like the Met. But now we have Priti Patel, who obviously cannot wait to, what was her line about what her end of the year thing? Going after the criminals and going with the Met on their raids. And
we've also just recently seen Met raids on art studios to destroy artwork related to Extinction Rebellion and stuff. Like the Met is often used by Home Secretaries as a kind of personal army.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, Extinction Rebellion shouldn't have publicised to the Met specifically in a letter saying, this is where we're doing a propaganda from.
They've got the tactical fucking nous of a potato. Yeah. Like, they are... But, the great problem with XR is XR's basically full of FBPE, the police really are good people if you get to know them, fuckowitz.
Well, that's why you have to write them letters about your crimes, Extinction Rebellion?
It's also a fucking... I mean, let's face it, Extinction Rebellion's a fucking op. And
yes.
It almost immediately was as soon as it gained any sort of notoriety.
But in this case, it's interesting to just see art studios raided to have artwork smashed up, on the word of the Home Secretary.
And I think the most important thing is if we look forward to, any hope of a socialist government or something, and I do fault Diane Abbott in this one as well during the Corbyn years. She talked about putting 10, 20,000 more police on the street. The answer here is any serious...
The answer here is another Christopher Dorner, to be honest with you.
The one good cop, is it?
Yeah.
We can only have one, so we might as well make it a good one.
Hey, but don't worry, because while we've been recording, Led by Donkeys sent a truck with a screen on it with Tyrone Ming's tweet on it to drive outside the Home Office, which is... And isn't it great to see a bunch of white guys in advertising taking credit for the work of a black creative?
Yeah, do love to see that. Those fucking terminal cardigan cunts.
Yeah,
fuck them, man. I
think anyone who's taken in by the grift left and grift libs and everything, and sends money to XR or Led by Donkeys or any of those fucking million different dickheads on Twitter. You should just send that money to me.
Yes.
And I'll just spend it on myself, and it'll do as much to reverse Brexit as it does you giving it to fucking EU Supergirl or whoever. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, the thing is, Jamie, it literally would, because it would be alleviating at least one person's living situation, which fucking everything else that they've done has done nothing in that direction.
So I mean, just one final thought. If we're ever going to be serious about socialism and building a new democracy and a new country out of this smoking shit show that is the United Kingdom, the Metropolitan Police, and I would say most, if not all, police departments in the United Kingdom, they cannot be reformed and they must be broken up and destroyed. Because there's no way that this system will ever improve itself. It will not happen.
No, well, ACAB includes cops.
Yes.
So.
I mean, let's face it. The only fucking actually good cop is the one in Disco Elysium. So
it's true. It's true.
But I think we started with the football, so I think even though we lost, we can still be proud. Don't you think, David? Can we still be proud?
Do we have to be?
No, you don't have to be.
Yeah, make me.
I won't. Right, so, bit of comment or commentary, a bit on the football in that. But usual rules apply. Mick, I'm going to ask you, because you are encyclopedic with this, to answer last, if you could.
I will do that.
Thank you. I'll be amazed if I can slip one by you, but I'm going to try my best. So,
okay.
33% of Labour voters think there should be consequences for those who say or do anything deemed hurtful to minorities, as opposed to just 18% of Tories. Consequences. What a horribly ominous Stalinist word. Comment or commentariat?
Commentariat.
Yeah.
Yeah, commentariat.
Yeah.
Cool. That was commentariat. Virginia Blackburn in the Daily Express.
Yeah, I was going to say it's Virginia Blackburn and the Daily Express.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Tell you what, the next ones, you can tell me who it was.
All right.
Right, okay. What one next? A key tenet of the wokeism perpetuated by the BBC is that you can choose to be offended by your truth, i.e. your perception of injustice without having to provide any objective evidence.
This is Forehead McGraw, isn't it? This is exactly his flavour of fucking horse shit.
Yet when the boot is on the other foot, the BBC doesn't see it that way. I find taking the knee to be a deeply offensive act, but apparently my views not only don't count, but shouldn't be reported at all. Comment
Correct.
or commentariat.
I think whoever it is, they should write their views down on a bit of paper, roll it up, and then hammer it up their fucking piss pipe and leave the rest of us alone.
That's got to be another commentariat.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jamie. It's Mr. Forehead.
Right, okie doke. Mick?
Oh, because there's been a few of these. I feel like it is Brendan, but maybe not. There have been a few. It could be what's his face, the Paul shithead. But no,
Pajama Watso?
Embry. Yeah.
Oh, Paul Embry. Oh, right.
Oh, is he that fireman?
Paul Embry is a honest to goodness National Socialist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair play. That is a very apt description.
That was a comment in the Telegraph.
Oh. That person should be promoted.
Can you prove it wasn't posted by Brendan?
I cannot prove that it wasn't Brendan. We don't know, but then I doubt.
Then I think we all still get the point.
Because I think that
Jamie,
Brendan O'Neill.
Let's take a quick vote. Who thinks we should get the point?
This isn't a democracy.
Jamie, do you want to keep track of all these points in case we need to come back to it in future?
Yeah, what happened to that? We were at one point keeping track of them all, weren't we?
Why did we stop doing all discovered that we had the same work ethic as you and stopped doing it.
And also, Jamie kept fucking around with the points because that's what he does.
If you want to drive a car or own a credit card or fly on a plane, you have to reveal your real ID. If you want to directly target black sportsmen and women with racist abuse on social media, or homophobia,
you have to have a syndicated newspaper column,
or homophobia, transphobia, misogyny, etc. for that matter, you don't. You can create a fake account with a fake ID that cannot be traced back to you, and be free to spit your hideous, disgusting rhetoric to your sick heart's content. This is a complete nonsense and has led to an atmosphere of total lawlessness where these morons feel emboldened to spew their bigoted venom with no fear of being made accountable for it. It's got to stop. Comment or commentary.
Was this the Shadow Home Secretary?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like Labour front bench. Yeah.
This is literally a description of fucking newspaper columns, pretty much down to the word, apart from like Twitter accounts.
Yeah, right. The thing with this that keeps coming up is, you should have to have a license to post on Twitter. Do you know what I mean? Have you seen Facebook? Everyone on Facebook is posting the most fucking heinous racist shit 24/7 under their own fucking name in the comments of their children's school or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like just fuck off with it. But
The Times has comments which are linked to credit cards because of subscribers can only comment there, right? And that's a racist cesspit. So again,
yeah, well, you know what I mean. Those people paid to get in.
Yeah. Also, I know who.
Do you know what I mean?
is.
They're entitled. Since you brought up needing an ID to fly, did everyone see that thing where the wifey tried to open the plane door in America this week?
What? No.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
There was a tweet going around. It was like a really blurry photo of some woman duct taped to the chair on a plane.
Fucking hell.
And it just, do you know what I mean? It sparked a huge, because obviously there was loads of people going, they're fucking throwing her out of the plane and all this sort of stuff. And it's yeah, okay, sure you would. And she endangered all these lives. She should have been shot. And you know what I mean? And all this sort of stuff.
I love to fire a loaded gun in a pressurized vessel.
Oh, and loads of people. If I'd seen that happen, I'd have proper fucking that race crime guy that does films. What you call him? Marky Mark. You know who I mean though. Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Mark Wahlberg.
He used to be Marky Mark. Yeah, him. right? When he did the thing about, like, if he'd been on the plane at 9/11, it would have gone down differently.
Oh, yeah.
It was just like
Yeah, it'd
tons
gone
of people
down quicker.
posting. Yeah, people posting that shit in the comments. It was basically all like fucking like cop shaggers mixed in with like bottoms going, oh, I wish that was me. It was just, do you know what I mean? Like tremendous vibes all the way down. Like.
Oh, fucking incredible. Right, okay, comment or commentary on that one, folks.
I know who it is.
Sorry, can you read it
and the
again? I've forgotten what you said.
No.
Let's just
Need a
fucking
posting
say
license.
It's commentary.
commentary.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, that was commentary.
Who was
Yeah.
it, Nick?
It was Piers Morgan in Mail Online.
It was.
Oh,
It was.
my God.
I'll wait for it, though. I've got a caveat that I haven't read from the same article. I've heard and fully understand all the arguments for maintaining people's rights to anonymity on social media, including protecting whistleblowers and activists in countries that try to suppress free speech.
And
But I
I'm
believe-
going to dismiss them.
But I believe the case for taking that right away is now overwhelming.
Oh, okay then.
Just a world
I
class.
believe, like someone should just fucking
kiss
him up and down like the entire set of stairs in a tower block day and night for a week. Every time he says anything, basically, it's like fucking, oh, you got an opinion, have you, Piers? Get in the stairwell. Do you know what I mean? Just fucking, honestly fucking hate that prick, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
would you be wearing the big shoes from Face Off while you're doing it?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely, like, you know what I mean?
Right, last one. We were humiliated by Italy, and the sneering and gloating from the likes of Bonucci is very hard to take. As a nation, we can only put this behind us by getting even. We now have to humiliate Italy in order to settle the score.
Are we invading Italy, are we?
It can be in any field, from politics to business, sports to warfare, but we must now defeat the Italians at something. I would not be against heavy tariffs on Italian products and making them pay full price for British COVID vaccines. That would be a start. Comment or commentary at.
I know how to strike back at the heart of every Italian, and that's putting cream in your carbonaras. Hear me, Elijah?
Yeah, don't do that. Fucking hell. Jesus, I'm not even Italian. I'm offended by that.
See, even people who like Italian things.
Do you know the last Italian meal I ate was a pepperami. Love a bit of continental cuisine around here.
Well, may I introduce you to a fine Dutch burger?
Yeah. Just have a bacon sandwich with like mayo on it and go, this is quite like a carbonara, this.
Right, what do we reckon? Comment or commentary at.
Comment.
Oh, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean?
This is comment.
Whoever it was needs to get out more.
It's a comment.
It is a comment. That was a comment from, of all places, of course, the Daily Mail.
Beautiful. What a way to round out the day.
Yeah, you'll love to see it. Well, that's all there. I think all that's really left to say then is, Mick, thanks very much for coming on. Where can people find you?
Thank you for having me. Just at Broken Bottle Boy on Twitter, where you can also find links to all my shit.
Which is good shit.
It's very. Yeah, I was gonna say it's very good shit. Mick, an actual public service.
Yes, the Twitch stream is great. The Substack is good. You should subscribe to them and pay him money.
Yes, but not before you pay us.
Yeah, pay them first. Pay both of us. Pay all of us.
Yeah, pay us all, yeah. If you want to pay us money and get bonus episodes, at the moment, 1 per month, plus early access to the Black Thoughts episode, which has just been released at time of recording, you can find us on patreon.com/praxiscast. We also have some new shirts as well.
Yeah, oh yeah, I've been fucking prolific lately with the shirts. Like,
They're
I don't
great.
know what to possess me.
Yeah, if you would like a shirt to pay tribute to the powerful fighting vehicle and meal preparation
Ready meal
device,
preparation, yeah.
you can find that on the Teespring store now. The link will be in the description. And I guess if we don't see you, no, in fact, we will see you next week on the regular episode. If not, we'll see you on the bonus after that. Catch you later.
Cheers.
Yeah, see ya.
Hi everyone. Many of you will have seen this by now, but we lost a true comrade and a friend today. Dawn Foster died on July 15 at the age of 33 as a consequence of her long-term illness. To many of us here at the podcast, online and among our listeners, she was our friend, our ally, and a staunch advocate for a better world. Her writing informed, enlightened, and entertained so many of us. Dawn was a rarity, someone with vision and moral backbone who stood up for what she believed in, even sometimes at the cost of her brilliant career. We would like to wish all her friends and family our condolences and our love at this time. Her colleague and friend James Butler, many of you will know him online as Piers Penniless, has asked that if you wish to contribute in her honour, you can drop a line at fordawnhfoster@gmail.com. And if you wish to donate, please donate to the Dogs Trust Freedom Project. We will provide a link in the show notes. From all of us here, Dawn, rest in power.